Hola todos, hi everyone, Carla here, your coach and trainer of NLP and host of this Metafit Metamind podcast, the place where we normalize the conversation between both physical and mental health. This is a place where you'll raise your voice and share your story. As your coach, I'm here to guide you to let go of all your limiting chains behind, and I'm on this mission to empower and create awareness and expansion in your life. You can follow us on Instagram at Metafit Metamind Podcast, on my other page at Coach Carlita. Make sure that when you're listening to this, go listen to wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. And when you're here on YouTube, make sure you like the videos and subscribe. As I mentioned in the previous episode, I'm going to be giving little bits and pieces of updates as we go along, as I grow, as I create more videos, because I think it's important for you to see what I'm doing, what I'm creating, the things that work, the things that don't work. It's part of entrepreneurship, podcasting, YouTubing, doing the things right in this journey of always expanding, yo. So, one thing that I did want to say is for those of you that have been listening to the podcast, thank you so much for always listening, for supporting, for rating the episode. And if you're watching here on YouTube, thank you so much for watching each week and for liking my videos, sending those comments. They really mean so much to me, and I'm doing my best to respond whenever I get them. So, definitely share this with more people who you think would benefit from this. And yeah, the other update that I have is that next year in March 2023, the official thing hasn't been announced yet because there's some changes happening, but the Fit Mind and Spirit retreat is happening in March of 2023. So stay tuned for updates for that. For those of you who are leading queens, ready for some R&R, some breakthroughs, and some community and connection. The other update that I have is that I have an online NLP certification training coming soon. So dates will be coming for you. So if you've ever wanted to be a coach, or if you are a coach wanting to improve your communication, your clarity, having your own personal breakthroughs, and really learning tools to empower yourself, to get yourself in better states, and also guide your clients through this transformation to live this healthy, this wealthy lifestyle that they've desired, then definitely send me a message, because that is what I'm about. I'm about sharing this knowledge, this information, and just sharing with the world the awesome tools that you can get and you can use to help yourself internally and externally to reach your success that you've always wanted. In this episode, I had the privilege, the honor to interview someone really special. She is Lynce Espinoza. Not only is she a mom and a businesswoman, someone who's in nonprofits as well, but she is also someone who I find very inspirational, who's very confident as well, even after the challenges that she's basically had to face throughout these last few years. Because things that from her story that you'll hear and you'll watch and you'll listen is that these things happen pretty quick. So she is someone who never chose to stay in that victim mindset. She made a decision to turn that around, a choice to herself, empower herself within, so she can continue to live life, so she can continue to see where she wants to go, to see the visions, the possibilities in life as things come along. So I hope that you enjoy this episode. Let me know in the comments what you think, or send me ratings in the podcast. So I hope you enjoy this episode. All right, cool. So, hey everyone, thank you so much for being here on Metafit Metamind podcast. I'm Carla Rodriguez, and I'm really excited to have a really special guest here on the show, sharing her story and to just share the journey that's gotten her to this place. On the show, we have Lynce today, and Lynce, tell me a little bit about you. Like, who is Lynce?
Yeah. Well, first off, thank you for having me. I'm really excited that, the IG world connected us, and here we are. I really
And we're
love.
both in Austin.
Yeah, I know. What are the odds, right? So yes, thank you for having me. So I guess I'll just kind of start with the labels, right? Although
Mhm.
there's a bigger picture of really who I am. So I'm born and raised in Austin, Texas, which is very rare these days here in
Yeah.
Austin. Um,
Wow, unicorn.
I know, unicorn. So yeah, for almost 42 in a couple weeks.
Okay.
I've been working 14 years in nonprofit, serving specifically the women in the underserved community in Austin. I'm a mother of 3 kids, a 13-year-old and 11-year-old twins. So we're in that really fun stage of
Wow.
preteens and teens.
Mm-hmm.
And then that label of being divorced, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which I have a love-hate relationship, but there it
Mm-hmm.
is.
Yes.
Um, but really who I am, I think if you would have asked me maybe this question 3, 4 years ago, I would have been quick to respond, I'm a
Yeah.
mom, I'm a wife, and
Yes.
I do nonprofit work, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm there for my clients and my staff. But I think the last 2.5 years, I finally have really realized who I am, which is
Nice.
I'm just a woman who is flawed, who has made mistakes, who has really great things going for her. I've
Mm-hmm.
had to do a lot of healing, a lot of self reflecting, a lot of
Yeah.
changes physically, emotionally. And ultimately, the best thing, I mean, what I can really say is, I have this amazing, imperfect life now, but it's perfect for me. So really that's
Oh.
kind of who I am.
Oh, I love it. I love that answer of this imperfect perfect life, because most people, I think, have this idea of like we should have it some way, this is how it should be. And I love that you're unraveling that. And the way that I see it, the way that I hear this is like it seems like there's this unravel of what you thought a couple years ago to what it is now, or where you're at this moment. So I think that's amazing, and it gave me like literally it just gave me a new perspective of like how I can think about certain things as well. So thank you for that. And so let me ask you, how is it, like, this is what I love is to, and why I have this podcast is so you can have this place to share, and so you can inspire others, because we're all in this journey of some kind in our life. So what is it? What is that chapter or that point in your life that's brought you to where you're at now?
So really there was like two big pivotal points in my life that really made me have to forcefully take a step back, because just, to speak more on where I was 3 years ago, that's the life that I envisioned. That's the life I had. And I thought I was going to have that life till I was old. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the first big moment in my life is I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2017. I was
Wow.
36 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
My kids were my twins. My oldest was 6, and my twins were 4. And so now I'm facing this like life-threatening diagnosis, right?
Yeah.
And cancer's scary. I know
Mm-hmm.
everybody hears the
Yeah.
word and cringes and gets scared. But I will say that there was these 2 weeks where you're really in the dark, right? Where you're
Mm-hmm.
having this whole workup, and really you don't know where you're at. You don't know
Mm-hmm.
if you're gonna how bad your diagnosis is. I
Mm-hmm.
really had this moment where it was like, wow, like what legacy am I leaving behind for my kids, for my family, for my work, for my friends? And second, and I'll never forget, I wrote it down. Why did I wait till the day that I faced the reality that maybe I wasn't going to get to do all those things that I've been putting off for later and
Mm-hmm.
later, right? Like, oh, I'll wear that dress later when I lose 5 pounds, or I'll take that, I'll take that trip that I've always wanted to take. It just doesn't flow with my work schedule, or my kids are little. So it
Mm-hmm.
was just like that moment that I was like, okay, like something has to change. And all those cliches of like life is short, live life
Mm-hmm.
to your fullest. For somebody who undergoes a diagnosis like that, let me tell you that those things do not become cliche. So I
Yeah.
started to just reevaluate my life and really what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I took some really big drastic measures to be able to just really live that life that I've always dreamed of. For example, one of the biggest things that I remember doing really early on, because I was diagnosed in the summer, and by the time I was finished with treatment, it was the holidays. I decided that we would no longer celebrate Christmas at home. We were going
Mm-hmm.
to take all that money that we were investing in presents for everybody else and take a trip with our kids, really create those core memories in the
Okay.
event that, something happened. And, we wrote this email to our family letting them know, like, hey, we're not going to do Christmas
Mm.
traditionally this year. And of course, everybody was up in arms.
Yeah.
But, as my kids have grown older, so, it really validates that what we did, or what I did, was important, because, this summer we went to a place that we had gone to before, and they could remember all these memories that we had created.
Yeah.
It was just such a special moment because I was like, okay, I did what I was supposed to do. So yeah,
Yeah.
that was a big moment in life. And then, second, divorce, right? Who have undergone a process of divorce. And it's again just letting go, grieving the life that you once envisioned with this one person forever, and
Yeah.
really starting over. That kind of comes with its own challenges. So yeah, those
Mm-hmm.
are like the two main things that have happened in my
Yeah.
journey that really have been so eye-opening.
Yeah, and let me ask you, was the divorce something that happened after the cancer, or was it before, or was it after the cancer diagnoses?
So my divorce was about 2.5 years after my breast
Mm-hmm.
cancer
Mm-hmm.
diagnosis.
And
Um, No, and I was going to say, this is, I think it's very common of people that go through life-changing diagnosis like cancer. You really come to reevaluate your entire life.
mm-hmm.
And, one thing that I feel very comfortable with now, and I wasn't before, and it was scary, it's okay to let go of that vision that you thought, your life was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's it's really hard for some people to no longer see that life, right? Being married 10, 20 years and now having to face the reality that you're not married anymore, or
Mm-hmm.
being in that job for, 10 years and it's so comfortable, it's what you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was something that I really learned, and I had to learn how to shift the vision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so that vision, like when you started to shift that, when that was happening, um, what was it that you had to tell yourself in this process of that shifting? Or was that something you were already shifting, like your vision was already like changing and then you just needed to step into it? Like, what was that like for you?
It was scary. It was
Mm-hmm.
very scary. Especially because, like I said, everything around you is comfortable. Everything you've known it for years.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're stepping in kind of into the unknown, right? As it
Yeah.
relates more specifically to divorce. And I'm sure a lot of women can relate to this. They always say that when you're married, you're not just married to that person, you're married to like family and the friends.
Yes.
And, I think one of the scariest things was letting other people know that I was no longer happy and there was
Mm-hmm.
this big change that was about to happen. And what you expect is for most people to understand and say, "Oh, I get it. I'm here for you."
Mm-hmm.
And I was completely shocked when a lot of people weren't understanding, right? A
Oh,
lot of
okay.
people just didn't understand why.
Yeah.
But I have to say that even though it was hard to maybe lose some friendships and lose acquaintances and even lose family, it was a really good time to also let go of maybe people that weren't contributing to my growth or
Yeah.
to my happiness. And I really believe in just finding the silver lining in everything, because I truly do believe that even in the really bad things, you can
Mm-hmm.
always find something positive.
Yes, I'm
Yeah,
all about the silver linings. People
yeah.
always say like, Carla, you're so positive. Like you always try to find something from that situation. And I said, well, of course, because there's always an opportunity for growth. There's always an opportunity for you to get to that next part. And sometimes, people feel, and at least in what I've heard is like, oh, this happened to me. And, we all say that life happens for us, for me, for you, right? And so you found yourself losing all these people, and so you had experienced this cancer diagnosis and the healing process, like through that as well. Like, how is it that you started to find the healing within your mind as well?
So a lot of it just came with really first healing myself. I think that's really important. And that's a big step that a lot of people miss or skip in any situation.
Mm-hmm.
I had to take a step back and really just reevaluate, where I was emotionally, In doing that, the interesting thing is that I also learned that I was carrying a lot of trauma from earlier on
Mm,
in my years,
yeah.
and so, therapy was a big piece of that healing
Yeah.
and that self-discovery. Journaling has also been, a lifesaver for me.
Yeah.
And those things, really just got me to a place where when I heard it, when I was talking to my therapist, and then I was writing it out on my own, was seeing it in front of me and just being able to say, okay, yes, this happened, or yes, I'm like this, and accepting,
Mm-hmm.
forgiving myself, really just brought me to that sweet space, right?
Yeah.
And in letting go of people, I had to let go of friendships of many, many years that really hurt. That,
Yeah.
again, just finding the positive, I, accepted it and just thought, okay, maybe they did this for their own healing
Mm,
and for them. So, I took to document what that friendship meant to me, what, how I felt losing it. And in the end, what did it bring to my life? And that just felt good, that regardless if we weren't connected anymore, you brought something positive to my life. And I preferred to do it that way instead of taking that road that most people do, like, oh, she's not my friend anymore, I'm not going to talk to her, I'm going to
oh,
befriend
okay.
her on social media. I
Yeah.
did none of that.
Yeah.
Everybody's on their own journey,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody's journey looks a little bit different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so in that process, what would you say like you've gained in that process through, getting through healing from the cancer and also from the divorce? Like, what is a gain that you feel like you found? Also, I see a lot of what you do on social media as well, which is really cool. You're a runner as well. So I'm not a runner, but I admire how much you run. So in that process to get you to that, like, what did you gain through that?
Yeah. So another big tool that I use for healing was running.
Yeah.
So I've never been a runner. I've never been that.
How did you even get in?
So my divorce process started right before COVID,
Mm-hmm.
and we, the process couldn't move forward because the
Mm,
courts were closed. So we were in like limbo. Yes, we're
yeah.
getting divorced, but nothing's finalized and
Mm-hmm.
legally. It just kind of, it was just a really bad place. And so everything being shut down, I remember these two coworkers of mine who are runners. They always invited me to run, and I've always brushed them off, like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll do it one day.
Uh-huh.
And finally, literally one day, I woke up and I took my stuff and I said, you know what, I'm going to take you up on that offer. I
Mm.
jogged maybe the first mile. This is like, March, April in Texas, and
Uh-huh.
it was terrible. But I
Yeah.
was determined to keep at it, mostly because I knew that even though I was doing all these things to heal, there was still pain. I mean, there were
Yes.
still tears, pain, heartache,
Mm-hmm.
ending relationships. They physically hurt sometimes, right?
Yes. Yes.
And so I knew I didn't want to be in bed crying or
Mm-hmm.
be on my sofa, watching sad movies
Oh,
or
yeah.
eating ice cream.
And this was in 2022, right?
This was in 2020.
2020. Mm-hmm.
So I just
Yeah.
said, you know what, from here on, whenever I have those feelings of sadness, I'm just
Mm-hmm.
going to go run. And so, like, 1 mile turned into three, and three to five, and then
What?
10. Yeah. And then, the healing came, the moving on came, and now I love running because I genuinely love it.
Yeah.
I can't help but remind myself and other people, like, look, my running journey started
Mm.
for all the wrong reasons. I was
Mm.
heartbroken. I was not in a good place emotionally. I could barely run. And now I run 16 miles on Saturday because I absolutely love it. And running has become not only therapeutic for me, but it also has just become as important as eating, sleeping, and drinking water.
It's your
Um,
daily.
it's my daily thing.
Mm-hmm.
And if my emotions are ever off, if maybe I had a bad day at work, running is my go-to.
Yeah.
It's that one place where I can just, it's what I love, and I can completely disconnect.
Yeah.
I know that, so many other people use it like that because I'm part of such a big running community.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say that, most people use it as that, as an outlet, for emotions, for healing, for what's going on.
Yeah.
And also being outside in nature is amazing. I love the outdoors and, being outside even when it's 100 degrees. Yeah, I mean, it's just reconnecting with those things that you usually don't, do on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I see like even rain, shine, wind, if sleet was not dangerous, you would probably be out there running too. Because I always see like your stories, like you're out there, it rained, oh well, or if it's raining, you go to the gym and you do your run. So I'm like, oh,
Yep,
super
yep.
committed, which is amazing. I get it. I get that connection because that's what I feel when I go lift weights, and just feeling that ability to get stronger, to just get out of the world sometimes too, is really interesting. So when you started running, I know this isn't about just running, but just like what you were telling yourself, like when you first started, and even now, like, do you tell yourself like similar, the same thing so you can keep going, or like how has that mindset shifted?
Yeah, so I think now the mindset has definitely changed. So initially it was just to survive emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
I remember crying on the trail sometimes, and people probably
Yeah.
looking at me like, "Oh my God, what's wrong with this woman?"
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because
Like, did
those
she get
first,
water in her eyes?
I know, like, is she like, is there an emergency? And I remember those really early days, and I say this for other women and just
Mm-hmm.
anybody listening to this, when you go through a big life event like divorce or cancer, you there are going to be dark days. I mean, really dark
Mm-hmm.
days where nobody understands, and the only thing that in a way understood was running, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in those early days, I was crying, I had to force myself, and it was just survival. Now it's really just a challenge with myself. And
Uh-huh.
that's the other thing that I really love about running now and how it's evolved. It really becomes like a mental challenge and a physical challenge for
Mm-hmm.
myself. 16 miles is where I'm at right now, and I do have a running
Wow.
coach, and
Mm-hmm.
my ultimate goal is to run, an ultra marathon, which is 50 miles. But I know that
Wow.
I have to progressively increase my mileage. So it's like, okay, we're at 16 miles. What's the next milestone? And
Mm-hmm.
really, that contributes a lot to me, right? Because it keeps me engaged. It keeps me, gives me accountability for myself, and
Mm-hmm.
it gives me goals,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and I always say this. It also, all the running that I do also allows me to eat all the tacos that I want. So
Yeah.
it's a win-win.
Yeah, go check out her stories on like Tuesdays or Thursdays
Yeah,
sometimes. It's like Taco Tuesday.
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
dang, I should be having a taco.
I'm all about the tacos.
You even have Taco Fridays probably. So in this process, talking about this mindset and how it's not just it's that challenge, in your own personal experience, what's that correlation been for you between both physical and mental health? Because that's one thing that I think is really important within here is, to raise your voice to share a story and also to talk about those
Mhm,
I like to say taboo conversations
mhm,
that were taboo in the past, especially as Latinas, as
mhm,
women, or just in most society, like mental health is it's a little more common now to talk about, but still not where most people talk about it. And so normalizing these conversations, right? So for you and sharing this, going through this process, finding this healing, like being this confident person that I see, like that I sense, and that I've had a couple few conversations with, like what's that correlation like for you?
Yeah, so I'm really glad that you brought up the issue of mental health because even though we're in 2022, unfortunately, there is still a lot of stigma, especially around the Latino community,
Mm-hmm.
especially in women. I was brought up by really strong women, like
Yeah.
all my aunts and my mom. They were all married and had husbands, but
Mm-hmm.
you would have thought they were the men of the relationship because they were
Okay.
just brought up with really, really, by a strong single mother.
Got it.
who, had to deal with an alcoholic husband, which was my grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
But my grandmother raised my aunts and my mom to just be stoic, and you just deal with it. And
Mm-hmm.
so obviously that transpired into like me and my cousins, and when we get together to talk, that's kind of the common theme, right? And I see a lot of that was really passed on to me, because during my cancer treatment,
Mm-hmm.
I have to say that I probably had to hold everybody up, and I had to be the strong one,
Yeah.
because I didn't want anybody to be scared and anybody to cry. And so I remember now in reflection, I took one day to like cry and let it all out. And after
Mm-hmm.
that, it was like you would have thought I was, not the person going through treatment. Um,
Yes.
and so, the downside to that is, though, even though it's made me a strong woman and, really good example for my daughters too, going through a lot of these, big life changes, the downside to that is, my mom never talked to me about depression. My
Mm-hmm.
mom never talked to me, how do you deal with those emotions? She never encouraged me to seek help. My mom has probably suffered depression her whole life and never wanted to take any kind of depression pills.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that's all she knew, because that's how she was brought up.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important to really talk about that. It's okay to be depressed.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to be sad. It doesn't last forever. And thankfully, we have all these tools,
Mm-hmm.
on the medical side, but also things like running, right? Like fitness.
Yeah.
I always say fitness isn't just fitness. It isn't about
Nah.
just looking good or feeling good. I always get the comment of like, why do you run so much? You're already skinny. I'm like, oh, it goes way beyond that, right?
Yes.
So, I think any type of physical activity really goes hand in hand with your mental well-being. One, when you're active, you produce, endorphins and other
Endorphins.
chemicals that just make you feel better, right?
Yeah.
Also, like I said, it really keeps you accountable. You can also create a community in whatever you're doing, right? I think you do
Mm-hmm.
CrossFit. I'm sure you connect with other CrossFitters
Yeah.
online, and when you're out, or you
Mm-hmm.
see it, engage with those people. So you're able to
Yes.
build this community of people. I also think that it helps your growth, right? Like I say, I started with a mile and now I'm at 16, and being
Oh
able to
my God. Just thinking of 16 miles, I'm like, I'll do 3.
Yeah, yeah, no, I hardly ever post like my time, because I really do believe, I don't ever like to put out content where people feel they have to
Mm-hmm.
compare themselves to me, because I really feel we're all on our different journey and we all do things
We
for different
are.
reasons. I did post my 16-mile run at like 9 minutes a mile, and everybody was like, "Oh my God," which felt so good for me though. And that's
Yeah.
where, part of that mental and physical well-being, I felt good being encouraged and praised by others,
Mm-hmm.
and that feels good, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely think it's, it go hand in hand. And, when people think about fitness, any type of fitness, it's not just that's going to bring to your life. It's going to be so much more.
Yeah, and that's super powerful that you mentioned that, it's not just I'm just running, there's more to it. And you earlier mentioned it that it's like that inner challenge for yourself, which I think can help you and just help others, like people who try it out to like, oh, I think I can get to that point and I think I can get to that point. Because I used to run more, and I remember like because I have this like love-hate relationship with it, but when I started on this fitness journey, I started running and I would go to Town Lake and run 3 miles with the dog. And in my mind, I was like, I have to get to that tree. Okay, I would get to that tree. Okay, I have to get to that light pole. All right, cool. I did it. I want to
Yeah,
stop, and I'm like, oh, no, 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 I've got just a little more. And then the dog would slow down. I'm like, all right, just a little more, And so it's like that cool process of like
yeah.
talking to yourself that you can get to a certain point. So I think that's really amazing that you're at 16 miles already. A marathon is 23.
26.
26. Okay.
Mhm.
So you're 10 miles short. What's your but well, actually, let me not get ahead of myself. So what is something that actually I was going to that. So in this process of running, healing from both of these things, running, what is something that you're like working towards, a goal, something that you're excited about in the next, I don't know, the rest of the year?
Yeah, so I have so many things. I would say, as it relates to what we're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
one is, when it comes down to my running, the ultimate goal is to run an ultra marathon, and there's going to
Yeah.
be smaller goals, but that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
the bigger picture. And I only
Mm-hmm.
say this because when I first started running, and I was only running at this time, 8 miles, maybe 10, and I felt I was on top of the world.
Yeah.
One of the coaches at a gym that I used to go to, he said, I think you should really consider running an ultra marathon. And he was an ultra marathon runner, running, 100, 150, 200 miles. I
Yeah.
told him, you're crazy. Like, one, why would I ever do that? And
Mm-hmm.
two, there is no way. And he's like, build up to it, put a little more miles under your belt. And I guarantee you that fire will ignite, that you're going to want to do more.
Yeah.
And I'll always remember him because I don't know. I just woke up one day and I said, you know what? I can do that. 50
Uh-huh.
miles. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
So yes, that's the ultimate goal. Of course, there's going to be smaller goals in between.
Mm-hmm.
In my work life, I've served the women in my community for 14 years, and the goals there never stop. There's
Mm-hmm.
always, new projects, new ways to better serve the underserved women in our community. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of really good, fun projects that are just
Yeah.
brewing there. And then ultimately getting my podcast off the ground and getting it started. Yeah.
Yeah. What
Uh,
is it called? When is that supposed to come out, or the intention?
yeah. So the intention was for it to come out this summer because I was feeling very ambitious. And then I
Mm-hmm.
forgot that I have kids, you
Oh
know?
yeah. Hey,
And
little ones.
so, yeah. And then as it takes time, and,
Mm-hmm.
the summer just went by so fast. The vision is there.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is ready to go. It's just sitting down and making it happen.
Yeah.
The podcast is called Unfiltered, Real Dates, Real Stories. And that idea came to me because dating as a 40-year-old person, or just dating in general, I don't even think it matters how old you are. Dating
Yeah.
is wild. And, nobody ever prepared me for everything that I would experience, from the good, the bad, the ugly, the weird.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so, yeah, as I started connecting with girlfriends and even male friends that were dating, I always heard we would share stories, and these funny stories and just weird things. And I was like, you know what? Like, all this needs to be heard.
Yes.
People should really be prepared for what, is out there. So
Mm-hmm.
the concept of the podcast is, it's not dating advice, because I have zero dating advice.
Have
It's,
experience.
have experience, but no advice. Mostly it's just a space where, guests, people who are dating, will be able
Mm-hmm.
to come on and share their
Oh.
experience, and we're going to walk through it, whether it's funny, whether it's crazy, whether it's bad, and just put it out there and process it, right? I think the other piece to online dating now, to speak to mental health, it really can affect your mental health.
Yeah.
And I see this with a lot of people. So
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted a space where people could really come on and just vent, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Yeah.
So yes. So my friend and I, we are the co-hosts to this podcast. We're both single, navigating dating, and yeah, we hope to launch it. Right now I'm going to say before the end of the year, but I'm hopeful that it will happen before.
Yeah.
Um, but there is a private Facebook group now,
Cool.
kind of in lieu of the podcast. A large number of single people from all over the world that share
Nice.
stories, can ask questions, can seek advice. And then, of course, I have my Instagram page that is all about running and
Yeah.
motivation. And I just want to this plug in. When I started my Instagram, it was mostly to keep myself accountable for my runs and be able to
Mm-hmm.
look back. And I never imagined the community of people that I would build on that page. I have so many friends. And I only
Yeah.
use quotations because I don't know half of these people.
Yeah.
I consider them friends. If I ever post something, they're
Y'all
in.
hear that? She considers you friends.
Yes, yes. I always say that, like I really do consider anybody on that page my friend because I have so much encouragement from
Mm-hmm.
people that I've never met. And I will say that I have happened to meet some people, like if I'm
Cool.
visiting a city, which has been super cool. But I wish I could meet everybody. But I have to say that it's been so helpful to also build that community. I know social media sometimes gets a lot of negatives to it
Mm-hmm.
because it's social media, but I will say it has been really a positive in my life because I've been able to connect with
Yeah.
so many people. And I've had so many people also reach out and just say, like, hey, thank you for sharing this because I really could connect and relate to that. And one of the biggest things for me that's really important is to be myself. I put out there even the good, the bad, the ugly, and the really weird about myself because really that's who I am.
Yeah, I love it. And I love that you're the same person here that you are there, that you are probably at work too. So that's something that I truly love because when you've really found yourself and you are in this place of like, this is who I am without the titles, like you're just Lynce, then I think that's just powerful that so many people can learn from that you've had to go through this it'd be nice if we didn't go through this
Yeah.
process of the way that it happened and the fact that you made a choice to cry it out for a day and then you chose to be strong, and then whatever other choice you made after that, I think that's really amazing because the choices that you make just put you whether as a victor, or the other side, which it's the most, if you're there, you're there, but if you're able to be aware and just like you did here is make that choice, I think that's amazing. And that gives me like this new like, cool, like I have another inspiration.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. And let me ask you one last question before I ask you the next one. That's not question, but you know what it is. If somebody wanted to learn something from you, what would be something that you'd share with them?
So I think that, and I mentioned this already, but
Mm-hmm.
it's okay
Mm-hmm.
for what you envisioned your life to be
Yeah.
to change. Yes, it can be scary. Yes, it can be overwhelming,
Mm-hmm.
but it will be better
Yeah.
because you will start a journey that, will help you'll find yourself, your
Yeah.
true self, because I think so many times we are hidden behind all these labels and
Yeah.
we truly believe that's who we are. But then the moment that you realize, oh, wait, life is changing, it has to change, you're forced to really come to that place of self discovery and really finding yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, that's what I would say
Thank you.
is
Yeah.
yes, don't life changes and it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that the vision that you had doesn't necessarily mean that that has to be it forever and just have that flexibility. So awesome. And if somebody wanted to maybe one day either guest on your podcast or contact you about any questions, or even, I don't know if this is even a possibility to ask if how they can support the women that you work with, how can they reach out to you? Where can they
Absolutely.
find you?
Absolutely. So I have an Instagram page, which
Mm-hmm.
is Lynce's Life, and my name is spelled kind of weird. So yes, it's Lynce's Life. And
Mm-hmm.
then
I'll
I
put the
have
links in the description and everything.
yes. And then if you want to be part, if you're single or not single, but you have some really great dating stories or really
Mm-hmm.
great dating advice, there is a private Facebook Facebook group called Unfiltered, Real Stories, Real Dates, and I can see the link. It's a
Yeah.
private group. You can join and participate as much as you want. You can lurk, you can look, you can leave a comment, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really just people of all walks of life. And on my Instagram page, I will have to say I do share a lot more of my life
Mm-hmm.
behind the scenes of running, which is nonprofit work and working with women. So yeah, if you're interested in just connecting or supporting the nonprofit work that I do, or even going on a run with me,
Yeah.
yeah, reach out on Instagram. I'm always up for meeting people for running, or if you're wanting to start any type of fitness journey and you just need some tips and tricks on how to start or
Mhm.
even encouragement, reach out
Yeah.
to me.
Yes. So thank you so much for being on here, for sharing this inspiration, for being an inspiration, and honestly, just being you. So I am really honored to have had you here. So yeah, I'm really excited to be sharing this, and I hope if anybody got inspired by this, please go take action. If you need accountability, let us know because that's what we're here for.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you for having me.